What's going on, guys? Thank you for tuning in. This is part 2 of the frame video. If you didn't see part 1, make sure you look for that video. And as you can see, I already got it started. And then this is me showing you how I'm going to round it out and clean it up, and smooth it all out. It only took like maybe an extra day and a half or so to actually grind the whole frame clean. You know, I kind of kept up with it as it went. It didn't take that much extra time. It made it a little messy, but the end results are a lot cleaner than just leaving the weld. Some of the spots where the body is over the frame and you're never going to see it unless you take them apart. I didn't really clean the welds up crazy good, but they're good enough. Here you can see I started making some plates, hooking up to my motor mounts, hooking up to my AR mounts. I want to make sure that I know where all these points are, because I'm going to cut the top of the frame off and where those ears mount, and I want to make custom mounts for it. So I need to make a jig that goes on the frame, connects to the motor mount, connects to the A-arm, marks where the shock went through, and it's going to actually hook to the transmission as well. So I'll have the right depth, I'll have the right width, and it should be 100%. I gotta take off all the A-arms, mount those plates, weld those plates, and then the jig should be made the way it should be, or it needs to be. Now like this, I'll come in, I'll cut those ears off, that whole top piece of the frame. We'll replate the top of the frame, we'll replate the belly, we'll make sure that these ears are usually the weak link of it. We'll make sure these come off. We got some 1/4 inch square tubing that we're going to put on there. I believe it's 2 inch, and it should be sweet. Back in the day, I had wore out some ears on a frame. That was only a lay and play, but I 3-wheeled the hell out of it, so I pretty much wore it out. Taking those motor mounts off was a treat. I'll tell you what. It's one hell of a time. So I bought one of these Daytona engine stands, and I'm going to convert into a thing to hold the chassis. I have 2 of them. This one is like a special one and actually has like a crank on it, and it spins it. But for some reason it comes like laid back. So I had to like cut it out. I'm gonna cut it down to the rest of the way, hammer it up, and then make it 90. So now that after I cut it, you can see it's pretty much 90. I might have to just pull it in a little bit. I'll re-weld it, and I'll grind it down, weld it, and then it'll be square. Okay, so after getting the frame all taken apart and put up on my homemade little whip thing here, now we can roll it over, weld it a lot better. But first, I have to get these
off. And I did make a jig, I'm sure I've post a picture of it, that connects down here at the transmission, motor mounts, these ears, and even marks where this is, but I don't necessarily even know where this hole is because I could flip the frame over and see the center from underneath. Maybe you can see it this way. With that all being said, what I'm going to try to do, take the air chisel, come under here, break it free all the way around, air chisel it. Maybe I might have to get the Sawzall in here on its side. I don't know, hopefully it's not too much of a pain. We'll see.
So I had to take the spring pocket out and make sure that it was flat surface because of the new piece that we're going to be putting in there. So we're going to have to do it on both sides. Alright, so underneath, I ended up cutting the lip off. I'm going to come back in and grind this down, but since it's reinforced to there, I didn't feel like it really needed to have that extra lip that was there. Also, I double plated it, so there's the top plate, and then I cut out a piece to fit in the hole. Center this I'm going to center this up to the hole here, tack it in, and then fully weld it from both sides. For some reason here I didn't show making the ears, but as you can see it's just 1/4 inch square stock drilled out with an angle so that it clears the A-arms, and you got to kind of put the bolts on the outside edge so that the arms have a little bit more room. But I welded it on the top and on the inside of both of them to keep them tight. Now the sleeve for the cylinder is welded on the top and the bottom, and right here what we're doing is I'm putting in some gussets so that it was more supported. Little cap here and there. The reason why I went with that small gusset on that one side is just because of the cylinder and the height of the ear. Kind of looks weird, but you'll never even notice it. That little gusset. I should have probably did an angle or something different on it, but it is what it is. Here's all welded up. Nowhere to go. Now I have it all cleaned up. It's ready for paint. Everything has been mocked up on it. And last minute I've been seeing a lot of videos of people breaking ball joints, so I decided to make this little bracket here so I can weld onto the A-arm and weld onto the frame so I can put a chain on there just in case it breaks. Maybe it'll hold it together. At least that's the plan. Have it all tacked up. Weld it up. Just gotta clean it up. Also wanted to run dual exhaust, so in order to do that I can change the cross member, or I could just modify it myself. So I just cut out these little squares, made sure that there was enough floor space for it, and I'm gonna box it in, cut that middle section out, and it should be good. Now the frame is getting all cleaned up, wire wheeled all the areas I couldn't get so that we could get this thing ready to put down some epoxy primer. Added the rear mounts so that when I go to put the hydraulic rack in, this will easily just bolt right to the frame. Now this is the underside. As you can see on the bridge, I added some square tubing for the chains. So power 3-wheel. Got most of it cleaned up now on this side. I just want to make sure it's as good as it can get before we put any epoxy on. Cut these little square pieces out. So once I cut that tubing, I'm gonna box it in, and then I'll put a piece across on top. Now these clamps, I got them from Harbor Freight. The orange ones kind of started failing, so we ended up getting these, welded them up just the same, and they work good. Now I can pretty much get any muffler or exhaust through that area without any issues. Also added some mounts here for my mufflers in the future in my exhaust system. I put one on each side of the frame and then one just underneath the drop downs. I think that's all I'm gonna need for mounts, but I don't know, make it just easier in the future putting in exhaust. It's on both sides the same. Also added on just the driver's side so that I can have my quick disconnect under the seat, and I have a good spot to ground the hydraulics. So in the rear, I add a little bit more support, hopefully make that bridge not ever bend. So I put these angle irons in there, welded them up, I also added gusset across the backside. Maybe make it stiffer in the future for power three-wheeling. At this point, everything's looking pretty good, and it just needs to be cleaned up, and then we can put the epoxy down on it. This is right before it gets ready to be epoxied. Everything is going to be epoxy black for now. Let that dry. We'll throw on some regular primer, sand it, let it dry, etc. Again, just the final once over. Make sure it's clean. Everything that we're going to be epoxying is ready to be covered in epoxy. Also wanted to show you that I did grind the gas tank down, wire wheeled it, cleaned it all up. We're going to epoxy it. I'll probably epoxy the top, flip it over, do the bottom, because I think I am going to do some stuff on the bottom of the tank. Now here it is, all epoxied out. Looks pretty good. It looks a lot cleaner than it did. Now I have to go through, fine tune a couple of little things. We'll throw some high build primer on there. We'll wet sand it down and get it ready for paint. Thank you for watching the video. Please like and subscribe, and be on the lookout for the next part. We're going to be painting it, getting it ready to put it back under the car.